Welcome in to 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank. You're at the final leg, the trifecta of a triple header here on the KSR YouTube channel on Wednesday night because it was a couple basketball games on Monday, but we like to keep it a ritual to go Wednesday night at just after 8 because getting on right at 8, there's a lot of moving parts. There's bedtimes. There's Kentucky football practice report. There's somebody screaming at KS Bar and Grill. You know, we got stuff happening. So, but we're locked in. We're loaded. We're ready to rip and roar. Fired up for a 1:30 p.m. kickoff Saturday against Murray State, and I do mean that quite literally. I'm excited to go to a Kentucky football game where it's going to feel pretty stress-free for the most part. And it's not at 7:45 at night. And judging by our young children, you and I could both use a night where we're not up till 2 a.m.
Nick, the people are screaming downstairs right now because the best underdog play in college football is playing right now. Eastern Michigan catching 11.5 at Ohio, fighting Emus up 7-0 in the second quarter. We're really up 18.5 points right now, at almost a halfway point through the game. So that's what the people are excited about.
Love it. My Tuesday night Maction anytime touchdown bets are 2-0 so far. Like it. So we're on the up and up, moving in the right direction. The Maction, it's good. It's raining outside, and there's still a lot happening with the Kentucky football program. We talked on some of it Monday during the football podcast about Mark Stoops' 0% chance that he's going to retire, but he said a lot of other interesting stuff that we can unpack between now and then, where there's a lot up in the air. I found it interesting, like that he was asked specifically today on the teleconference. Yeah, when do you all start doing the roster management stuff, or how much? He's like, I don't really know, and you could tell that Stoops is just like, great that you asked because I was just dealing with this bull crap today. Like that was the kind of retort he got, and that's been the last 10 days. Is they spent last week figuring out their off-season plan, and then the plan got changed to 85 scholarship players.
Well, before getting into that, I want to rewind to this because we can't really skip over this. He doesn't show up to his radio show.
Yeah.
After saying, I'm not going anywhere, or however you want to phrase that answer. What do you want? Like, here's just my 2 cents. I'm just going to lay it out there. I don't think the coaches, whether Cal or Stoops, need to go to this every time. Like, Vince can fill in, your coordinator can fill in. I actually think that's a good way to kind of get them training, on-the-job training for when these guys that want to become head coaches for you leave. I don't think it's that bad. I think in the context of the season, you probably needed to show up to that.
Yeah.
I think that was a bad decision. I think, Nick, that those radio shows those are fans that aren't online that listen to that. A lot of them.
Yes.
They're
your most ardent supporters, I would say.
That is not the mob that got mad, that was calling Stoops Cal Monday night on Twitter or on our message board. That is more for the more casual fan, I would say. And when you don't show up to that, that's just, you shouldn't do that. That's your vehicle to the fan, to a big chunk of the fan base. And those those radio shows have gone on forever. So, if you want to show people that you're here, I don't think it was necessarily a good idea to skip your radio show. Now, I don't know why he skipped it. There might be a good reason.
We didn't get it though.
But we haven't got it, and we weren't told before that he wasn't going to be on.
Which is usually the case. If they're not, you usually get a heads up. It's in the Sunday email that we get from Susan Lax, kind of like, hey, here's what's going on this week. So
typically I don't think it's a huge deal, but in this specific situation, because what it looks like, Nick, is like he got mad at that question and just said, I'm not going to that tonight. Like, that's kind of what that felt like.
Well, you're just giving people a reason to
Yeah.
like you're just giving them another excuse. Like when I had to write the quick post on the 0% chance thing on Monday, like I referred to it wasn't just the Texas A&M. There was also the Daryl Bird interview. That's like the two biggest ones I can think of. But if you wanted to go through and
pony
like
up.
list, if you pony up, if you wanted to list all the times that he's complained about NIL or this or like, there are people out there who they've got a list like Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison, and like it's pretty long. It's a pretty long list, and he just gave him another one. That's the part where the timing of everything. I know it might be a little bit redundant because you just did one during the bye week, but that's part of the job, you know. So you, you you're giving them more reasons to say that you're like Cal, you know, because that was really I think the early on in the season when people were kind of defending Stoops. They're like, well, at least he hasn't lost touch with the fan base, and it's like, oh, skipping radio shows. That's not a good sign. That's just not it's not a good sign.
Well, I just think, again, to the point, I think the more locked in fans, the ones that we interact with probably a lot on Twitter or message board, they are the ones driving they believe that he's tapped out, that he's not in it all the way, whether true or not.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't show up to a show after you get questioned whether you're in or out, I think that leads to more people saying, "Hey, are you in or out?" And to your point, like you just open yourself up to something that you don't really need to. And now again, there's something might have happened. There might be something we don't know about. So I do want to throw that in there, but just from the optics of it, I don't think it looked very good after that press conference, and then doing that where you say you're not going. That's not happening. Like you allude to that you're all in, and then you don't show up to a job requirement, and then you get then the Cal comps come.
I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm very distracted tonight. Everything that happened previously, we got people in the chat talking about the Duke game. That was such a roller coaster of like positivity, and then we come to this, and it can be a little bit difficult to talk about. But what's not difficult to talk about is our good friends at Monticello Bank, because they're always all the way in. They won't be distracted. They're going to put your needs first, because at Monticello Bank, it's where people matter. Proud presenting sponsors of 11 Personnel, Monticello Bank will hook you up with the best rates possible, whether you're shopping for a home loan, car loan, whatever it may be, personal financing. They'll get you covered at Monticello Bank, in business for more than 120 years with branches all across the Commonwealth and online at nbcbank.com. It's Monticello Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Did you see the little scoop that our friend Zach Gagan dropped on KS Board, Mr. Luckett?
Just now?
Yeah, just now. Breaking news.
I'm
I would
diving
think that
in.
I know all of our
Oh,
friends
wow.
watching, they're members at KS Board, and if you aren't a member, you should use promo code UK1 and you'll get 2 months for $1 and be locked in through what will surely be a wild December for the Kentucky football program. But you know what? We'll give you an appetizer of kind of the scoop and intel you can expect to get. We don't get an injury report tonight, but Zach has some good news. Brock Vandergriff expected to play and start against Murray State.
Yeah, that's good to hear. We weren't. It felt like the vibes were that he could be out this week, and TBD on how much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but that's good news, because again, like I've said this, you want Brock. Brock still needs snaps. Like he's still a young quarterback. You still want him to grow. So I think it's important to get him some snaps. And they felt it from the talk. They kind of felt like he played one of his better games against Tennessee. And I don't disagree with that.
Felt that way. Yeah. That and Ole Miss, probably the two best we've seen him so far. And
so it's good to have him back.
I understand people. Yeah, I get wanting to see Cutter Boley because because, like, come on, things haven't been good. Let's see what the other guys got to offer. But Brock needs snaps, and if there's anything I know about this Murray State defense is that there should be some confidence building snaps, and that's exactly what he needs. Give him a half, give Boley the other half, fine by me. Even if it's a half in a series of the second half, fine by me. Cutter will still get some run, but I understand why you have to go to Brock in this moment because you're still invested in that guy. And I know Boley is the future, but you need to determine if it's the right now future or not, and that's why you got to play Brock.
Yeah, I think again, you one way or the other, you need to commit to a quarterback. Same conversation we had last week. You just got to commit to someone. So I think you've got 3 games left. That will be 12 games. Brock Vandegrift as a starter in your system. You make a decision on what you want to do there. So I think you need to let this play out the string and see how the season ends.
I did mention that we don't get an injury report because Murray State is not an SEC school, so it's not mandated. But it does sound like the Wildcats are still – you're going to have a lot of guys sidelined Saturday probably. Is that fair to say, Luckett?
Yeah, Brad White said they're in the midst of getting healthier. Didn't necessarily say they were healthy on defense. And then Barry Brown, that'll probably get a we'll see when Stoops is asked about it tomorrow, I would imagine, on Thursday. And then there's some other guys out there too that undetermined. But it sounds like Maxwell Harrison's playing for the first time since September. It sounds like Brock Vandegrift won't miss a game. So those are the 2, I think, bigger developments. And then we'll see kind of where everyone else is.
Yeah, I think Stoops' words, because DJ Waller didn't play against Tennessee either. He was kind of trending in that direction. But this might be the closest to 100% they've just been in the cornerback room in a long time as well. So that's noteworthy moving into that Murray State game. Maybe we'll talk more about that more. Matt G brings up a good point in the chat. I think Kobe Bria is a good quarterback. That was a pretty sweet pass he threw. You think we get Lamont Butler in the slot? He'd be a nice, he's got good body control, physicality there. You never know.
Yeah, it's a bad year, Nick, when everyone is going to that same dumb joke.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we are, though, and there's really no way around it. I just realized that I'm wearing a yellow hat, and we're getting ready to watch Kentucky play a team with yellow and blue. Probably not a good look on my part. Whatever. I'm not taking myself too seriously tonight. That's abundantly clear. But to get into some more serious football discussion, the 85 versus 105. He didn't want it to be a headline when you asked him, Luckett, but he did get asked about it today, and he said he was just on the phone with somebody at compliance if they have to be at 85 for the start of the spring semester. And he's like, that to say that's going to be a challenge is an understatement. Can I just say that's kind of bullshit? I mean, they're always light on numbers. It's the opposite is the issue, right? Like the senior class leaves and only some of your freshmen show up. You have players depart. You're still going to try to get more portal players in the spring, but like, remember when they had everybody get hurt and they didn't have enough for a spring game, or at least that was their excuse for it? I mean, numbers being light is the problem in the spring. Now, if you want to say just the numbers crunch period is tough, fine, whatever. But you don't have to have 85 guys on scholarship if you're bringing in a freshman class in January. You're probably going to run people off in the portal in the spring. Like, I don't know. That felt like Mark just complaining, just mad about it, because that's another like little wrinkle that, you know what, it's fair on his part that we don't think about that sort of stuff, and that's a little detail that he has to think about. But they're typically light on numbers in the spring, and I'm not gonna act like this is the biggest deal in the world. Like it. What in the world is happening? Trivia.
I'm telling
Sounds
you,
like a dog
Eastern
is
Michigan,
howling.
yeah, they are. They're howling in Athens, Ohio, right now. Matt, I don't think it's. I wasn't name calling you. I just, we wouldn't be making that joke if Kentucky was having a good season. That was my only point. That we got to make a basketball joke to make ourselves feel good about the football, or at least laugh football team.
Yeah.
Nick, to my understanding of the rule, they had until like August 1st to get down to 85. So you could be over, or you could have more in the spring. So it just gave them more wiggle room, where I think they don't have that as an option now. And so that can make things difficult in the spring. My read of the situation is this. I think they thought, or they got probably some assurance that it was going to be between 95 and 105 scholarships numbers. And that's why I think you saw this high school class balloon up to 21.
Yeah.
I think they've known for a while that they were we're losing a lot off this team. We're going to need a big portal class. But they thought they had the extra scholarship capital to use on that. So they thought, well, heck, we can double dip. Let's go to the queso and let's go to the salsa. Let's get both. We can do both.
Can we guacamole too? I love guac. Why not?
Whatever you want. Your guac, you can go to the junior college ranks. Try to find you something. But I think now I wonder if there's a little buyer's remorse on this high school class. Are there guys they took that they maybe didn't want to take? And my first kind of gut was like, well, they're not taking anyone else. I don't know if they can afford take anyone. I wrote about this last week. If you just kind of go, it's kind of hard to spit out a specific number because you don't know exactly how many they're going to lose. But they've signed between 20 and 25 high school players. They've lost between 20 and 25 scholarship players a year, and they've added between, I think it's like 10 and 16 portal players. And that's kind of where the numbers are going to hit again this year with the 85. So then it creates where you're going to have a smaller portal class, and you're really, I think, going to be all in on some of these young. You're going to have to just play some of your younger players, and they're going to have to start for you. And so are they ready and all that? We'll see. But I definitely wonder if that really messed up what their original plan was. And does that force them to have conversations? Because an interesting thing to me this week was Stoops talking about how they've kept the good players they've lost that were development pieces that would have been depth pieces. That's where it hurt them. I think the two big ones that stand out to me are Jamarius Dinkins and Jeremiah Anglin off this team. I think where injuries hit, those guys would have played roles for them this year, and they didn't have them available. And so if they're and I think offensive line, maybe they could have kept David Wollabaugh for another year or two. That's another body they could have had, things of that nature. So that makes that's what he was, I think, kind of pointing out. But those are exactly the kind of guys I think they're going to have to get rid of or cut bait with to go out, and if you need to go sign a big portal class. And I'm just thinking about this. What if it's just they just sign 12 portal players? And they do they would literally do everything the exact same that they've done the last few off seasons, and it's just going to be that's going to be a hard sell, I think.
Yeah. The
easiest sell to this fan base is just saying, we've got problems and we're going all out to try to fix it in the portal this offseason. Where right now, from a number standpoint, I don't know if that's even possible.
Not really,
but that's just kind of realistically, that's just where it is right now.
Well, and I thought it was interesting too that he did talk about kind of how the resources get spread around, and he's like, roster retention is where that's the first priority with the nil honeypot. Then it goes to portal players because they're just going to be more expensive, and then it drops down to the high school players. So he's saying that out loud, but like you're right. They have 21 high school guys in this class. And some of them they just kind of you need offensive tackles. You got 3 or 4, you need bodies in there. I don't think you're going to be able to pay for one in the portal. This one's any good. At least who knows, but that's the part where it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I like the phrase you use, like it thread the needle, and it did make it more challenging for them to thread the needle. And I wasn't surprised in the slightest by that. Was it Chaz Coleman committed to Penn State?
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, yeah. I mean, I don't know who they have left to take at this point with 21. Like you thought oh well, maybe they'll try to flip Spike and maybe Delane Galloway will come on down, and there's some other guys out there. But now that it's at 85, it's like I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. So it's clear that Stoops is frustrated with it. He's very frustrated with it.
What?
The one other thing
Go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, you got it. No, you
Well,
got it. Mine's a little different.
I was just gonna say, I think he's got a gripe, fair gripe. I think it's some BS that this is coming down the chimney this late. But as a leader of this program, there's been a lot of him complaining about stuff.
Mm-hmm. You can do something about it as the guy who's running the show.
Yeah,
you can't change the rules, but you can change the way that everything is organized.
I get this is not the job you signed up for, but one of his bigger quotes I think from tonight, well, I believe it was earlier today in the teleconference, was that
here we go. I think this is the one I had pulled up.
Yeah, here you go.
I took great pride in building the program on taking those 2 3-star guys as we could get in the surrounding areas and developing them into very good football players. But those days are over, and you have to be a good team now, and you have to have the resources to get those players. So let's just call it the way it is.
Oh, we've also got some. Speaking of recruiting developments, Jacaden Ferguson, Nick, is decommitted from University of Kentucky.
Right after he was walked in. Well, there's a domino. Yeah, he just tweeted a picture of him in a jersey, and that was basically the affirmation that he wasn't flipping after visiting LSU.
Updating the spreadsheet right now as we speak. And yeah, that's I'll be interested to see where he ends up, because LSU was pushing for him, but I believe they were recruiting him as a defensive back. So I'll be interested to see.
Corner. Yeah,
I'll be interested to see where he ends up.
Yeah, and that was Dykel Shorts' first big recruiting win, but it's from the state of Texas. So you would imagine proximity, all that, playing a role in all of this. But yeah, not ideal. Not ideal, Bob. Things, but here's the other part of this too. We mentioned they got no more room to add. There's probably going to be some more that more dominoes that fall. Like this. He won't be the last. He won't be the last. So, wow, it's almost like we perfectly timed that out. Like it. That was totally unintentional.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut. Well, I did mean to cut you off, but I had to get that out. But
you needed to.
Let's get back to this quote from Stoops today.
Yeah, let's do it. Where he's basically saying, "I used to recruit and develop, get guys around here, but that's out the window." I think it was the exact verbiage. That's out the window. Like we can't do that anymore. And while I agree, you can still do a lot of this, a lot of the same stuff. And that's been my argument the whole time. It's just it's not an excuse, but his job changed and he's not as good at it. And that's pretty clear that he's had to abandon his cornerstones and he's kind of treading water trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah. I mean, again, he's made that air is gone. It's not coming back,
No.
I think a little of it will come back because you don't have the fifth-year guys anymore.
Yep.
So these portal markets aren't going to be as flush
Yeah.
or have as much depth as the ones we've seen because COVID seniors are going away. But still, it's just not how it is anymore.
That's
So
the game's changed.
So so why do we keep bringing it up? Like, we know this. Everyone knows this. You got to move forward. Got to evolve. And he's even said it. You know, what was his phrase?
It was you either exist or you exit. I saw it the other day. I forget exactly when he used it, but it was you either exist or you exit. So,
yeah. And again, Nick, you know, try read between the lines in here. You hear him say on Monday, well, I'm 100% not 0% chance.
Yeah.
But then immediately after that happens, we come out. This is what you hear after. He doesn't show up to coach's show. It's mentioning how much he has to fundraise, and it's mentioning, you know, how it's not the same and how hard it's going to be to cut down the roster. It's like, and it's how he can't spend time with this current team or as much time as they want because they have to do roster management. It's just like, are you in or are you out? You know, like, I hate to ask that, but that's what it feels. Are you in or are you out? Like, what's going on?
It's not ideal. It's not ideal, the situation we're in right now, because we're having to ask these questions, and they're legitimate questions.
Well, they're having an awful season, and I just don't think that's the messaging you should want out there. Like, just me. Like,
not really inspiring the masses to think that you're going to straighten this ship.
This is not great PR. Like, this is not, like, the messaging. It's not good right now. And the play is not good, and you're losing commits. And you know, what is this portal strategy gonna be? How do you handle losing the last two games? You know, we go 4-8. Are you gonna go in a bunker, you know, and not talk for a little bit? How do you handle all that? The vibes aren't great. To put it as simple as possible.
No, they're not very good. Yeah, they're not very good. But let's get into something a little bit more optimistic. Kentucky's going to win on Saturday. They should win. So my question to you, Luckett, is this season. Actually, I'll rephrase that. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app. It is the best ticketing app on the market. It's fast, it's efficient. You get it delivered directly to your phones. Game Time's got the best prices at all of the best venues in all of college football. So even if you're just like, I don't need to see Kentucky Murray State. You want to go on a college football road trip elsewhere, or maybe you're planning a little playoff road trip. You want to go see one of those home playoff games. Game Time will have you covered. The GT Picks feature has the best prices for the best seats, so you don't have to wade through a bunch of them. They just make it easy for you to see them right off the bat. And you're going to see them. You're going to see your seats from the vantage point. It's what makes Game Time the best. Just when you download that app or visit them at gametime.co, put in the promo code KSR, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's promo code KSR for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time and the Game Time app. Woo. So my question, Luckett, we've been seemingly surprised at every twist and turn this entire season. Just when up is down and left is right, you flips. It's get flips on its head. Oh man, I just forgot how to talk there for a second. We feel like we got a good sense of how this should go. So what is the ridiculous surprise that's in store for us in this Murray State game? Because we're bound to have at least one. So what do we think it is?
They throw for 500 yards. Like, what would be the most unpredictable thing?
Dixie Burger.
Yeah. I mean, I do really think this this is let's get our stats game. I really do think like this is all right. Let's get our stats. Let's get our numbers. Let's let out some of our frustrations in this game. Now we'll see if that happens. I know that's hard. Like it's hard to envision. And is this the Kentucky? It's got the bye week blues. Is this the slump buster? All right. Is this the game where we end this dreaded? I think they've not covered 9 in a row off a bye. Is this a game where we just end all the bye week talk? Just go out and beat a team down, cover the number.
I would hope so. What are we? The number comes out like the day of for these FCS games. Is that right? Or maybe the day before?
Yeah. Someone sent me one today. It was like 35. I think the total was 45.
Okay.
This team has not scored a point on a power conference team in the last 2 years. Missouri shut them out this year, and Louisville shut them out last year.
Yeah, I would think you would feel pretty confident about that. But on the other hand, it only takes a couple self-inflicted mistakes to wreck that, and that's why I think it could get just hairy, if only for a weird moment or two. Maybe not the Steven Johnson game that we're thinking of, where they were down 14-0. But I'm still expecting some weird stuff to happen in this game. Remember when Zaire Hughes had a reverse touchdown in one of these games? Who's going to get the random? Who's the random guy touchdown we're going to get? Hardly Gilmore's going to score his first career touchdown. I feel good about that. That feels like a sound prediction. That's all I got on Murray State. I got nothing else on Murray State.
Yeah,
I wish
we'll
did,
say run heavy offense. I think will probably kind of play into Kentucky's hands. So I mean, just from that aspect, the one challenge I think would be if Murray State could throw the ball a little bit, Kentucky could find themselves in some trouble. But run heavy offense, I think, will kind of play in Kentucky's hands. So yeah, I mean, like this game is one Kentucky's going to win. Just going to depend by how much. Murray State's having an awful season. And then it's on to Texas and seeing what Kentucky can do in this last 2 games after this game. But right now, I mean, almost all of the talk this week has just been about December.
And you know what? It's almost like you know what you're talking about, Luckett, because on this here show a week ago, sometimes we do the shows and we talk about a lot of stuff off air, and then it ends up just becoming our on air conversations. But I hadn't heard you mention like, what if a surprise assistant leaves? What if Brad White leaves? What could that do for the program? And then I'll be damned. 5 days later, Brad White's on a hot board for the Florida State defensive coordinator vacancy. And I thought the terminology they used that Pete Nakos used was interesting.
I believe he was the only coach in there that had direct intel about what he would need to take the job. That was notable.
Yep. And part of it was personnel matters, personnel decision making, something like that.
Bringing people with them.
Which you don't know if that's players or coaches. It's just people.
I would imagine there's probably at least one assistant he would want to bring with him.
Anwar.
Yeah.
Anwar's from Tallahassee too. Like
the only catch with that would be at Florida State is Odell Haggins. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He is a staple there. Defensive line coach. I'm doing it forever. He's lasted through all these different.
They're bullcrap.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to get. He's very much entrenched there. I don't know if Norvell could even get rid of him if he tried. If he did, there's going to be a lot of blowback for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Now we're just speculating. We don't even know Anwar's a guy. But that would be my guess.
Yeah.
And if what Pete's saying is true and what he's hearing is true, which I have no reason to think it's not.
No, he's plugged into those circles.
There's some shopping going on elsewhere too. It's not just Florida State.
Yeah.
To me, that's the bigger take. It's not the Florida State aspect.
This is one of
This
some.
is one that we're hearing about.
Right.
So there's probably some other stuff going on. And again, like I mentioned last week, when you have a season like this and you have 3 disappointing seasons in a row, not everybody in your organization is going to be like, you know what? Let's do this again. Let's run this back. Eventually, you got to do what's best for your career. If you're an aspiring coach or whatever, aspiring anything, and you got to make a move. You got to strike when the iron's hot and keep, because it's really important I think as a coach to keep your arrow pointing up as much as you can and to be successful and be a part of successful organizations. Let's call it what it is. Kentucky is not a successful organization right now. And it's next year is looking just as dire as this year. And that, to me, this White development potentially, we'll see how it plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Say he does leave. That means Mark Stoops would have to, do all that roster management stuff we talked about. They need a culture reset. I think that's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Bush Hamden comes out and talks about their culture, but they need more player-led leadership, it feels like. I don't think that's crazy to say. So you need that. You need impact starters in the transfer portal, multiple positions. Then you would have to go hire a defense coordinator. It's a tough needle to thread, It's just a lot to check in this offseason.
Well, to add to it, that's just not.
And I mean, how long does Stoops want to do this? Is this, if he's in it for 5 years, it's no brainer.
Right.
But are you in it you're just trying to go another year? What's it's kind of the end game here.
In particular, when you just look at, he's only had 3 defensive coordinators in 12 years, like that.
Last 2 hires were promoted in-house.
Yeah. So it's not been
his first hire was an in-house. DJ Elliott came with him from Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
He's never hired a defensive coordinator out of house. Now he hired Matt House, no pun intended, and Brad White the year before they promoting them.
Correct.
But he's, is he going to
give Mike Stoops a job?
Collins? Are you going to promote Chris Collins?
That's probably what it would be, right? Give that guy a shot.
Does Matt House want to be a college defensive coordinator again?
Where's he at again? He ended up
Jags linebackers coach.
Okay.
They're not having a good year.
No. Well, it's a year, so it's probably not a good one for the Jags. Gosh, they really did. That spiraled quickly. Got out of hand on there. I sorry to deviate from that because it is it's as dim as the White may seem for us. What do we got to think it's going to be for the head guy right now? When he's trying to figure his way out of this. Yeah.
There's a lot on his plate that needs to get fixed. And that's why I keep pointing to, I just don't know if all of this is fixable in an offseason. I think you've got to almost cut it piece by piece and just say, all right, we're fixing these 2 pieces. We're going to eat these 2 pieces and get those handled and fix those, and then go on to the next offseason. You have to get to the next ones. So I think they're kind of heading to a similar year next year. And then just what is the temperature?
It's
surrounding
pretty balmy right now.
So what is that if you have another tough year, Because it's hard to say it's not, but he tried to leave for A&M. There's always been the scuttlebutt that he could retire early. It seems like he's ready for something new. He's ready to get out. Kicking the can down the road and going one more year in that scenario, if he's not all in, it's a waste of everyone's time. It just is. And so so this is, but he's stuck because again, he's not getting fired. And I'll say this again, if his buyout was $1, they would not fire him. No. And I think their reasoning on that is solid. because of what he's done and what he's accomplished. He deserves every right to pull them out of this, but it feels like he's not all in. It just does.
And there's not a lot of evidence to go against that. And I felt like the Ole Miss game kind of proved a lot of that wrong, especially on the heels of the Georgia game. But then ever since then, we've only gotten contrary evidence to all of that. So,
yeah, I mean, that one just feels like the aberration.
Yeah. No, there's
That
no
the
doubt
Georgia
about
game.
it.
That the Georgia game, it's almost like, to me, that's why I think if they went out and, took Texas to the wire or beat Louisville, it would almost be just as frustrating. Because it's like, okay, clearly this team can play to a certain level, but you weren't able to consistently pull that out of them.
Right.
You can't do it. You're not going to do that every week, but you should be able to do that way more than if they did it 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully we get a normal football game this weekend. 1:30 kickoff, SEC Network Plus, ESPN Plus. That's how you'll be able to stream it. We'll be there and have plenty of coverage from Kroger Field. It's actually a nice little warm up because we got Kentucky Louisville women's basketball game. So that I'm fired up for that one too, with the Claras and Georgia Moore and co. They're off to a great start. That one's going to be at Memorial Coliseum Saturday night. But we got to discuss just a few things from around college football because my guy Ryan Walters, he's doing some stuff right now, and I admittedly don't have my pulse on the Purdue Boilermaker beat very well, but some of the updates you've been sending me about this 1-10 program or whatever they are right now, 1-9, very, very amusing, very funny.
I mean, you've heard me talk all the time about like these defensive coaches who are head coaches who become defensive coordinators. I think it typically does not work. It's kind of working for Clark Lee in a weird way, but he's kind of the exception to the rule. It just hasn't worked. And I think credit to Mark Stoops, one thing he did really well was he took it over when they needed it to, but he gave it up right away because he realized it was too much. Ryan Walters has done he did the opposite. So they fired Graham Harrell in week 3 or week 4. I mean, for whatever reason. I mean, whatever. You want to make a change.
Yeah.
They stunk. You want to make a change. But he did not have another coach who had play calling experience outside of an analyst who was a high school coach. So he lets the analyst call plays for one game. And then they get blasted 52-6 by Wisconsin. Their defense is an absolute mess. Their defense is their worst unit.
Yeah.
So the defensive head coach decides, let me get a week, learn all the plays, and know the play calls. Then I'm going to be the team's play caller. And he's calling plays, offensive plays, for the first time in his career.
Oh,
Kentucky, the vibes are low. The vibes are bad right now. But someone's always got it worse. That's ridiculous. I mean, that is unbelievably ridiculous. Bill Belichick tried to pull some crap like that off, right? With Patricia Joe Judge calling plays. That is insane that he's doing. I think that's legitimately insane. But
the quote was I would have done it earlier, but I couldn't spit him out fast enough.
Yeah,
and it's like, why? Who are you, guy?
The thing that makes it more insane is your defense stinks. And your defensive coach, you should maybe just be
focused on them, trying to get them to be better.
Well, and I don't know. I'm not in the facility, or I'm not even covering that team on the beat. But I would like to ask someone. I need to find out more about this. Honestly, I might just call our guys at our Purdue site and just try to find out some more. But so you just want to call plays for the first time on offense? I don't know.
It's bad.
That was oh my gosh. I was like, what?
So that's one of the funniest stories that people aren't talking about in college football right now. There's no doubt about it. What everybody's talking about I'm very, very amused by. It's just the weekly anger over college football playoff rankings because the pendulum swings so wildly to whatever the weekly grievance is. And I love it. I love watching from afar. And we're talking about the Joker in the chat, but I do feel like the Joker just lighting the money on fire, where it's just like, go have your fun, pet. Like, just kill yourselves over these rankings. Because, I mean, we build Georgia. I guess Georgia Ole Miss wasn't technically a playoff eliminator for both sides, but that's kind of what it was billed at. And Georgia fans are mad that they're 12th. Like, oh, but look at who they beat. It's like they lost. You want to go up, go beat Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I think. All of that. Everyone hates the committee.
Yeah.
It's made a TV event in part, Nick, to drive conversation, to drive dollar for the sport.
Yeah,
to get people excited.
Yeah, for the playoff, right? Exactly.
So, and all of these, they all work themselves out in the end, and that's why to me, like, I'm not even that worried about this.
The divisions stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff's going to work out. The right teams are going to get in the playoff. We can sit here and. What upsets me is, like, if I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like the same people who wanted to get rid of divisions are now the ones upset that we don't have divisions. It seems like it's like, yeah, I get it because the conferences are too big, but, like, what do you want them to do? I mean,
see,
I get it. It just is what it is.
I was very amused by hearing all of the Louisville fans tell Kentucky fans that they need to have a tougher schedule and they need to quit scheduling MAC teams, and Kentucky doesn't play hard teams. And then I see a Courier Journal column talking about how they need to bring back divisions because this schedule is too hard for Louisville. It isn't fair. And I'm just like, oh, this is just beautiful. You get the easiest schedule ever, and finally you have to play the good teams, and it's like, oh no, we got to change the format. But I don't think any of the, to your point, I don't think the doomsday division scenarios will unfold. But there probably will be, like, there are going to be like 3 teams where you're going to have to play the bubble thing, and it's going to be weird because Indiana is going to be probably 11-1 with 0 wins over teams ranked in the top 50 of SP plus, and yep, there they are in the playoff. I mean, they're 5 right now. I don't think Ohio State's going to drop them down, 7 spots. We're there on the outside looking in. So I love the 3-ring circus every week because just the takes are so spicy. And it's like, man, guys, we still got a lot of games. There's still a lot of football to be played. A quarter of the season, according to Mark Stoops.
Yeah, I just think some of the outrage over it. Just let the games. Let's play these games out. I'm glad they don't do this during basketball. I'm glad we don't get together and release even a top 16 every. They do it once, we talk about it, and then everyone forgets about it. Like literally 3 days later.
Because they do that, and then they play a bunch of games where those seeds don't matter. I mean, they do it at like noon, and then CBS airs a bunch of games, and it's like, okay, well, I guess that's old news.
Yeah, I'm glad they don't do that. I like the transparency of it, I do, but it's almost like we can't, as consumers, we just can't handle that information. Like, it's just too much.
It's too much for us to handle. Well, I think we've handled this podcast pretty well, Luckett. Is there anything else that I feel like we touched on the big stuff? I didn't know if there was any little things you still wanted to get at.
No, I mean, I think crowd has been a huge, like, people have wanted to point to this crowd being small, so I'm interested to see what the crowd is on Saturday.
Yeah. The second half is going to be something.
It's not going to be Vandy 2012, but again, I'm just interested. But it's not going to be a ton of people. Now, the weather I checked, it's actually going to be a great day. Last I checked, but then someone else told me it might rain.
Pulling it up right now. Oh wait, that's for my home city. So
Yeah, it's a
Lexington
beautiful
on
day.
Saturday, 60, mostly sunny. Like it'll be nice in the afternoon. This
Yeah,
is
so
actually
I think that'll actually get some people like late, like people with tickets just be like, let's just go.
this would be a great. If I wasn't in this job, I would take my 4-year-old. You know, the real young ones who, all right, like they can handle. They might not be able to handle the raucous atmosphere or a night game, but Murray State, yeah. Well, let's
Get some
we'll
room,
stay
like some
for a half.
room
Go
in the
get some
bleachers.
popcorn. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This would be a good one.
Yeah. I think it'll be fine. I think by the end of the game it'll be light, but like they've had light crowds before. The 2019 season was full of light crowds, weather driven. I mean, the weather was absolutely
It was
terrible.
so bad. Yeah, yeah.
UT Martin and Louisville games, there was Louisville that was more, and then it kind of once it got out of hand, people got out of there.
Yeah.
But UT
That
Martin, there was no one. It was like snowing rain. It was probably the coldest I've ever like going to a UK game I've ever been, like temperature wise. No one was the guys. They snapped it over their head first play, and then I think even the people were there. All right, this game's over. Let's get out of here.
Oh, do you remember who the coordinator was for UT Martin in that game?
Yeah, that was Petrino, little
Yeah.
Petrino.
Yeah. Ah, man. So, well, hopefully we get something funny, hopefully something silly, and a big Kentucky win this Saturday, 1:30 p.m. at Kroger Field, Kentucky versus Murray State. I, for one, like it. I'm excited to talk about the actual game, the football on the field, instead of all of the future stuff, because we're going to have plenty of time. We get a whole month. Let's still enjoy some of the games. We got
We are.
three. We got 3 left to go.
We
So,
are. We're gonna go these games. We're gonna cover them. We're gonna preview them right now, and we're gonna talk about them and see what happens. And there's gonna be developments out of this. I mean, we'll see what they are, but you can't avoid what's coming either. So
no.
we got you covered from all angles.
Oh, yeah. So join us on KSR Plus for all of the wild ride. He's Adam Luckett. I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Kroger.